Amazing. All right, so let's begin. Welcome everyone to the Nowhere demo number 2014. It's yeah, time passed quickly. And let me introduce you to the agenda for today's demo, which will cover the governance demo. We proceeded like even further by the past 2 weeks. And also we will review the recent release, which is 3.9.2, which introduced a couple of the improvements overall to the app, as well as introduced the Calamari or KMA staking, right? And in the end of the slides, we will also review the roadmap. So let's start. Before we start, just quickly, I would like to remind everyone that you can scan this QR code or visit this link to get access to all the social media links for No Wallet. You can follow us on Twitter, watch recording of such demos on the YouTube, and also get access to the slides if you miss something. So feel free to join the community. Now, let's begin with a recent release. The recent release was focused around like multiple things. First, we had to prepare the update for upcoming improvements on the Polkadot and Kusama networks for the staking. So we had to make sure that our users have access to the working version of DOT and KSM staking before these changes will roll out to the networks. So that was one of the main goals of the release, but also we have tuned the application in several aspects. For example, we introduced the faster loading screens for the crowdrun. So now you can see this kind of like a shimmering effect as soon as you go to the crowdrun screen. So while the data is loading, you can see these animations. Also, the Calamari staking itself was added because that's basically in the direction of us reusing the logic which we have developed for the Moonbeam and Moonriver networks, but also we can use it for all networks which has the parachain staking module. So Calamari network is one of them. So that's why our users can access the Calamari staking. And overall, we have improved the stability of the application. So now it works faster, it works more reliable. So yeah. And just a couple of words regarding the Calamari staking. Let's take a look on the demo. Just a quick look. And yes, so you should see my Android device. If I go to the staking and if I go to the available assets, you can pretty much see how how lots of them now on the screen, and the Calamari is now one of them. And pretty much if you have been staking using the No Wallet, your Moonbeam tokens, Moonriver tokens, or even like a Turing tokens, then you would be familiar with how Calamari staking works. So same features like alerts are available for you. You can see your rewards, your stake status, and all the staking management are there. So it's pretty much a reusable solution for the convenient staking. And by the way, talking about the Moonbeam staking, feel free to watch our recent article on Medium. We just released like a sum up of all Moonbeam features which are available in Nova, such as staking, the app browser, cross-chain transfer. So feel free to take a look and let us know what you think about this. Now, going back to the slides, let's take a look on the governance. So for the governance, just a quick recap of what we're doing currently. Our aim right now is to provide as quick as possible the clean and simple, but at the same time, complete solution for the governance. We're aiming to support both the generations, so current generation, which are being used on the Kusama Polkadot and also on a couple of the parachains and solo chains. But at the same time, we would like to provide the interface for the upcoming governance, which is governance 2.0, right? Meanwhile, we're also thinking about how we can further improve the governance, kind of like a gamified experience. So that will also come pretty much soon. Now, speaking about the progress which we did for the governance, you can see the state which was like 2 weeks ago. And let me go to the next slide to see the updates. And according to these slides, we're mostly done. It was to mention that even if the feature is done, we still kind of refining and finding the ways how to improve. That especially relates to the feature of viewing the available and completed referendums, because our goal is to kind of the balance between the useful information and the noise on the screen, right? So we're experimenting with lots of things to make sure that the overall UX of participating in the governance is clean and pretty much simple. But also we revealed that it will not make sense to release the governance without a feature which we have not included to our proposal to the Kusama treasury, but which may result in not really a good user experience, which is unlocking tokens from governance. Because as soon as you vote in the governance, you are locking your tokens, right? And if you would like to unlock them, then you need to make an operation. So we need to have user interface for that, so that our users will always be able to kind of, after they're done with the governance voting, to unlock these tokens and use them in other things. So that's just a quick update. So that being said, it seems that we would be able to provide a release with the governance within like 2 weeks from now. So let's see how it goes. But once again, our idea now is to provide the simple, clean, the first iteration of the governance features. But at the same time, we would like to start collecting the feedback from the community, because governance is something what not lots of users have been using before, comparing, for example, to staking, right? So it's very hard for users to like compare, for example, the governance in Polkadot.js and governance in Nova, because lots of them have been not using it, right? So we would like to collect the feedback from our community to understand how we should proceed further, right? So that being said, let's switch to the demo. And by the way, if you have any questions, feel free to paste them in the chat. I'll just see one. So governance capabilities on mobile is a fantastic feature to open. Yeah, exactly. Because yeah, that's the reason why we developed the mobile app, to have access to all the features in whatever place you are, basically. So let me grab the Android emulator, and we'll go to the voting tab. So right now we have the governance and crowd loans pages on the voting tab, and we have 2 networks here. And as soon as we will release it to the production, you can expect that you will see lots of networks here, because we are aiming to support not only the governance 2.0, which is supposed to be released sometime soon on the Kusama and then on the Polkadot, but also we are going to support governance the current generation, which is something what lots of the networks are using, for example, Moonbeam and other parachains, right? That being said, we now have 2 test networks, one hosted by us and another hosted by the Lithium-Try parachain. So we will take a look on the Lithium-Try governance because it has lots of, let's say, scenarios, right? What we can see here, we can see the ongoing referendums or referendums which are available for community to participate in, right? They have a status like waiting for deposit, not passing, or any other status which represents the state of the referendum. We also have in the top right corner the information or the countdown usually regarding the change of the status. So it's either going through the next stage in the like a status pipeline, or it will reach terminality. So you can see that not passing will most likely, if it will not pass the voting, then it will be rejected in 18 days, 5 hours, right? At the same time, you can see that this referendum was submitted by somebody on the blockchain, but that person has not paid for the deposit. So if that will be the thing, then this referendum will just be timed out and disappear from this list in 12 minutes, right? At the same time, if certain referendum will receive enough votes, so let's try to do it quickly, and then I will stop by on the referendum details page and the voting page. But for now, let me also switch to another account which has votes here, and let me quickly vote for this referendum. And no worries, I will explain each of the screens now, but let me just revote here, and we will see will it change the status or not. So we can see that basically now it, oh, I voted, yeah. So now we can see that this referendum is now passing because we are basically we can see that it has more votes towards this referendum or in A, right, than in nay, and the threshold for it is 71%, and now we have A to be 100%, right? Or this white line is representing this. And now what we can see that basically the status change will happen in less than 3 hours, and it will be approved if this referendum will remain above this threshold, right? So now you can see this. You can also check how many votes and what accounts has voted for like approving this referendum, and you can also see that nobody has voted to reject this referendum. So that's kind of how the statuses works on the main screen. Everything is updated live, so you can see that even the timers are counting down, and moreover, we are taking into account the block production speed, so that will be also reflected if, for example, the network is producing blocks slower, then this timer will reflect this, right? What else we can see here? We can see that we have in governance 2.0, there is a clear distinguish comparing to the governance 1 or first generation, is that we have certain tracks or referendum categories. So we can see that we have the main agenda, which supposed to be like, let's say, the hottest topic or the main topic or the most like priority topic, right, to be voted on. We also have lots of other categories like treasury. Treasury category contains from multiple, let's say, subtracks, medium spend, low spend, high spend. All of these categories, they have different parameters in terms of how much time each referendum needs to collect the voting to be passed or to be rejected. So the idea of tracks is to kind of categorize different voting topics so that we can basically have certain things approved faster, or certain things will require more discussions. So within time, the community will basically understand that we have multiple things to be voted on, and depending on the category or track, that will require certain amount of time or certain threshold, as you can see here. Because for the referendum to be approved, it should not only collect more votes in its favor, but also there is a threshold which is decreasing over the time, right, which should be met. So you cannot get your referendum approved by voting just one dot token, right? There is a threshold of minimal amount of tokens required to be voted, right? So you can see that those referendums are not meeting the threshold. That's why they're not passing. So we're still waiting for them to accumulate the votes. But at the same time, if certain referendum acquired enough votes, then you can see that there is no information about threshold because it already met, so there is no sense to show it. So that's the main screen of the referendum. One important thing to be noted is that right now you don't really see what these referendums are about, because this is a testnet, and for the information regarding the referendums, we're going to use something called the Polka assembly, which you can already see in the our community section, right? So we are working with the Polka assembly team to use their basically middlewares in order to get the information regarding each of the referendums, so that once this will be released, let's say you will go to the Kusama, you will see nice names if they are set on the Polka assembly. So you will, instead of referendum number 20, you will see the actual name, and you will see the actual description which the author of the referendum has put inside of this referendum. We also have the completed section here, which basically history with the terminal statuses like approved, canceled, or executed. And one thing is that once referendum has been approved, like you can see that one will be approved in like 2 hours, 54 minutes. That means that there will be a certain period of time which this referendum will not yet be applied to the blockchain. For example, to send certain amount of tokens on certain account, or to update the runtime of the network, or basically the context of the referendum. So that will be executed only in like certain amount of days, depending on the track and on the network. So that's also worth to mention. So you can see that you will be able to see the history of these referendums. You will still be able to go to the details and even see the timeline for them, like the history of this referendum with the dates. So that's regarding the main page. Let me see the questions. This looks great. How can one switch between the old and new versions of the governance? So at one moment, you as a network can have like a certain logic for the governance. So we will pay attention on what each network is doing in terms of like maintaining their governance versions, like will they remain to be on the current generation governance, or they will follow the Kusama and Polkadot, updating their networks to follow the 2.0 governance, right? So we will try to keep our eyes on this, and as soon as the networks changes the governance from version 1 to version 2, we will update Nova so that the governance will be reflected towards that. Because you cannot face the situation that on Kusama, for example, you will have both version 1 and version 2. What you can face is that this will be migrated to version 2, but certain parameters will be kind of from the version 1. So this would be handled, but in the user interface, you will see only like the networks between you can switch and basically participate in the governance of this network. So I'm not sure that I addressed your question completely, but long story short, you would be able to switch between the networks, right? In terms of the user interface, we will try to make it the same for the version 1 and version 2 governance. The only difference, I believe, would be, of course, the configurations, like the time and like the thresholds, but also there will be change in the, not change, but the difference in the governance version 1 is that there is no categories or tracks, right? In governance version 1, there will be just one, there will be just one track, and most likely we will not even have an information about it. So there will be just number of the referendum. All right, so let's take a look on the details of the referendum, because that's also an interesting thing. So first of all, you have your title, you have your description, you have all the information from the previous screen, like a track of the governance and of the referendum and the referendum number. But also you can take a look on the detailed description, which comes from the Polka assembly. And Polka assembly, technically speaking, it's using the Markdown, and Markdown is the way how you can format the text basically to be displayed, right? So it includes like a different font styles, the images, and so on. And our goal was to cover the user experience for Nova so that everyone can just use Nova to participate in the governance activities. So let's say you're a Nova user, you go here to read more, and you can obtain exactly the same information as anyone using the desktop and the Polka assembler, right? So you would be able to see all the text and descriptions formatted just like the teams did it on the Polka assembler. So everything like a tables, images, so all of that will be supported and is supported now. That's good. You will always see your voting if you have voted, and voting basically consists from two things: how many tokens you have locked, and what was the locked conviction. So if I'll go to the voting screen, I have like user interface to enter the token amount, which is 1,000 here. And now I have a voting conviction. So how can I empower my voting power by locking tokens for a longer duration, right? So you can see that if I will just remain on 0.1 multiplier, then my lock will remain the same. But if I will go further, then you can see the change. So those tokens will be locked not now for the 18 days, but for the 25 days maximum. And that basically results in increase of 6 days and 23 hours, right? So if I'll go further, you would be able to see how your voting power is increasing, but at the same time, how your locking period is increasing. And that's not linear correlation, because if you'll go to the 6 multiplier, then you can definitely see that it's much more than comparing with the 1, right? So pay attention to this. But yeah, this is the feature provided by the blockchain. You can increase your voting power by locking the tokens for a longer period. So yeah, if you want it, you can do it, but pay attention to the locking period, which can be relatively high. And yes, once you entered the token amount, once you decided for the convenient conviction for yourself, then you can basically select the type of voting. So it's either nay or a. So either you want this proposal to not pass or to pass. And at any moment, you can change your voting by using the same interface. So for example, I have now allocated 70,000 tokens with 0.1 conviction towards this proposal, but I can always go here and, for example, use the same tokens, right? So you can see that the governance lock remains the same, the locking period remains the same, or I can increase it, and let's increase it something like 10,000, right? That will be shown here. So my lock will be increased by 10,000 tokens, and let's also increase the voting, locking period, right? So now we can see clearly how it's changed. And let's also change basically our decision. So let's vote so that this proposal will be rejected. You can see the confirmation screen, but as soon as I tap confirm, that should be passed to the blockchain. And now we can see that basically everything has changed. So now it's like nay is more than a in terms of the votings. Threshold is not met because you need to have your votes towards approval of the proposal so that the threshold will be passed. But not only the threshold is not met, but we also have more votes towards the nay than a in terms of the threshold, because you need to have 71% of a votes for this proposal to be in approval status. And you can also see that the status changed from the approved in something like 3 hours to again to the reject. This will, yeah. So besides the voting widget, what else we have? We have the available DApps for the governance, and right now we have found so far 2 of them, which are the Polka assembly and the Subsquare DApps, right? So those will be extremely useful for you to comment and react towards the proposal, right? Or to participate in the discussions. So know that this is a testnet. So as soon as I click to the Polka assembly, that will not work because the governance testnet doesn't have the Polka assembly. But once, let's say, it will be on the Kusama, that will redirect you to the same place for you on the Polka assembly for this particular referendum to start a discussion or to react. And the same goes for the Subsquare. We also have a timeline here, which will tell you how the certain referendum was changing towards the time. So when it was created, what status it is in, and all this information. And for the advanced users, you can also go to the full details, which shows you more, let's say, technical information about the proposal. So you can see the parameters of or the content of the proposal, or the code which will be executed if this proposal passed, right? And other basically technical information. So that's what we have for the governance so far. Any questions here? And let me go back to the slides, and we can address the questions towards the end. All right, so we are approaching a really nice milestone of completing the second Kusama Treasury proposal, which means pretty much soon we're going to submit a new Kusama Treasury proposal for continue developing the Nova wallet, which means we would like to remind everyone in the community that you can shape the Nova and you can submit your feature idea by once again scanning this QR code and going to the Lincoln tree. And basically you will find the link of our Kenny.io here, submit your feature request. As soon as you go there, you would be able to see all the feature requests that our community members already published there. You can participate in discussion, you can even vote. So it will kind of increase our attention to this feature, or you can just submit whatever you basically want, right? So as soon as we approaching the completion of Kusama Treasury proposals, we always go to the Kenny and we grab certain features which really has a high demand from the community and include it for the proposal, the next one, so that we can always keep our connection with the community, so that you can see all your desirable features implemented by us. So feel free to go and create any feature request and participate in discussions on our Kenny. And let's go back to the slides. The roadmap. So for the roadmap, we just started the current quarter, right? We have delivered something what we have not planned, but still it's a nice thing to do. So Calamari staking is now supported. We're still working on the governance current generation and the next generation. And this roadmap will be updated as soon as we will publish our next treasury proposal. That would be it from our side. Thank you everyone who participated, and yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Let me check the chat. All right. So yes, just a reminder for you to submit your feature request on the Kenny.io, as well as if you have any questions or feedback towards the governance features, feel free to ask us in our community channels. And we would be really eager to hear what you think about governance as soon as it will be released. So hopefully that will be done in like 2-week timeline. So we're aiming for this goal. And once again, thank you everyone who participated. I see you in 2 weeks. Cheers and have a nice day.